Hi, everybody. This is Corey. We'll be starting in about 1 minute. You'll see in chat that we have a link to the checklist that we're going to be using throughout the webinar today. It also was sent with your login in. Be sure you have that. Maria, I do see your information. Yes, we do have our cameras off. We're having some bandwidth issues, and that helps. And if somebody can check, it says Maria says she's seeing hers as on. So can somebody check and see? Oh, right. Welcome everybody to our Tuesday, our Talks on Tuesday for February 2nd. Teaming with Purpose, Overcoming Challenges with EI Colleagues. This is part 1 of a 2-part series, and at the end, we'll go ahead and remind you what's coming up in March. So we are glad you are joining us, and we're going to go ahead and jump in. I've reminded a couple times, but this is the checklist we're going to be using today throughout our webinar. It is in chat. You also received it through your login information. We'll drop it in chat again, but be sure you have that pulled up on your laptop because you will want to use it to be able to fully participate. This checklist is a checklist from the Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center on teaming and collaboration. Oops, having trouble getting there we go. So as we think about our agenda for today, we're going to reflect on effective personal and team collaboration and teaming practices. We're going to consider some teaming challenges and problem solve strategies and resolutions. And then we're going to identify some resources that will help you and your colleagues and staff with collaboration resources. So when we think about why teaming is so important throughout all aspects of the early intervention process, this quote kind of just really summed it up, that no one person, no matter how talented and experienced, can provide all the supports and services that a child and family may need. And so that's just a really important thing for us to think about in all aspects of the early intervention process. I looked at this teaming book, Teamwork is an Individual Skill, and I thought that this was such a good one. The of an isolated, well-defined domain is almost ancient history. We are all performing multiple roles, and we must work with each other to create a whole. So I want you to think about, you can type in chat, how many of you remember when we really kind of thought about, this is my domain. I'm working on gross motor, or I'm working on receptive and expressive language. That's kind of my little bubble. How many of you remember that's when we were doing more of that in early intervention? Yeah, I see Mary Ellen and Beth have raised their hands. Jennifer, yes, lots of people are raising their hands. It's just what we did. It was just part of our assessment practice that I'm going to be working on this part. I see lots of you guys raising your hands. That's great. Thank you. So what we want to think about is good teaming characteristics. And some of these are just really common sense kind of things, but we have really used this pie chart as some of what we identify as really good teaming practices. So understanding the team purpose, valuing and respecting each other, communicating openly and honestly, helping one another, sharing common tasks, and understanding unique roles. So I'm going to ask my colleagues from the PD team, we were going to use a stamp. Again, if you just joined us, we're having trouble with that feature. What I'd like you to do is type in chat. When you think about the assessment, the checklist that you just completed, what do you think you and your team do best out of these? What do you think you guys do best? Just type that in chat and we'll see what. Lauren says helping one another, value and respect. Several people helping one another. Mary Ellen says we listen well. Help one another, communicate openly and honestly. Yeah, lots of help one another. Value and respect. Understanding the team purpose. That's good, Lindsay. Thank you. Open-minded, share common tasks. Danielle says helping each other. Yes, meeting on a regular basis, Michelle says, to share knowledge. Being understanding. Yes. All of them, Dee says, all of them to some degree. Great. All right. All right, so now what I want you to do is I want you to look at that checklist again. It's numbered from 1 to 9. And which numbers, and when you think about that checklist, which number do you think matches the dark purple, communicate openly and honestly? You can type in chat the numbers again, 1 through 9. Which ones do you think hit this dark purple? Hi, Nanette. She says we do them all well. Patty says 1. Sandra says 1 through 9. Dana dropped the checklist again if you don't have that open. 1 and 4, 1, 2, 7, 1 through 9. Yeah, 1, 2, 7, all of them. Robin says all of them. All right. Yeah, kind of you guys hit the idea. The idea, when I looked at it, I selected 1, 2, 7, and 8. But the bottom line is really all of the teaming characteristics are about good communication skills. And that's kind of what we wanted to drive home. So what I wanted to do is, we know that that open and honest communication is essential, but that checklist also has items, again, that cross all of these good teaming characteristics. And when you think about teaming amongst your staff and your colleagues, practicing requires commitment from all of the individuals, and becoming a quality team is an ongoing developmental process. Something that we really have to think about. It doesn't happen overnight, it gels over time. And somebody mentioned in the chat they meet regularly. That is a perfect way to start. Frequent and regular times for the team to interact really does build that capacity to grow and learn together. So we wanted to share this checklist as a tool for you to reflect with your colleagues. It's also, if you want to try this activity with them, this is another thing you could do. The bottom line is the answers that I put and the numbers that I put on the screen that you can see really are just my answers. The idea is that 1 through 9 really crosses over so many of those good teaming and collaboration skills. So when teams put forth that effort, it's evident in all aspects of the early intervention process, from intake to transition. You can see a team that has really formed well. So what I want you to think about is, Chad, is when you think about assessment, when a team is strong and solid, what do you see during assessments? What does it look like or what doesn't it look like during assessment? So type that in chat. Yvonne says there's a flow. Tell me a little bit more, Yvonne. A smoother flow to everything. You guys are all saying flow. Yeah, you're not tripping over each other. Yes. You see transdisciplinary questions and discussion, Michelle says. It's obvious that they respect each other. Beth says, ooh, I like that. Beth's analogy is it's a dance. There's back and forth, there's anticipating. Each person values the other's perspectives. Rachel hits on there's no designated domains or discipline specific areas. Yeah. Yvonne, I'm not sure if I've got this, but one thing that I would always sort of plucked my nerves is if somebody asks a question and 2 minutes later somebody asks the same question because they're all looking at their checklist and they're not paying attention. So there is that flow. I can hear their questions and make it applicable to whatever I'm looking at. Nanette says we seem to almost know what each other is thinking before things are said. Jan says, no egos, no need for credit of success. Lori says, passing the conversational baton relatively seamlessly. Play off each other's strengths. You guys, I mean, you can see it. You can also see it when it's going pretty badly and people are tripping over each other and the parent or the caregiver is looking like, wait, didn't I just answer that? Or wait, what's different about this? So absolutely. Takes lots of practice. I have such a lag in my clicker. Hang on just a second, you guys. There we go. So we've taken just this really quick look at your own personal skills using that checklist. We thought about how that checklist matches with your team's strengths and skills. And we thought about what those good teaming and collaboration practices. But we're going to take a different spin for the rest of our time together. And sometimes we know that teaming is just really hard work. Sometimes there are challenges with other provider team members. And we're going to be focusing on teaming and collaboration amongst providers and practitioners. Next month, when Lisa presents, we're going to focus on engaging families as equal team members. So what we're going to do today is we're going to look at some situations where teaming may be really difficult. We're going to think about understanding team purpose. An example, when a team member has a different understanding of the team purpose or team goals. Maybe, for example, there's a required agency tasks, but not all the team members want to jump on board or help make the new process work for the entire team. We're going to talk about sharing common tasks and understanding unique roles. An example of this is when team members aren't willing to share common tasks, or they see their role as so unique, excuse me, that they don't really focus on collaboration. And then the last one, I kind of glommed together two pieces of our pie, communicate openly and honestly, and value and respect one another. And an example is just when team members seem to be butting heads. They just don't get along. All right. So again, what we're going to do, you all are going to be able to drive where we go and what we talk about today. You'll see that I grayed out the pie chart about helping one another because the truth is that's pretty basic, something we should be doing in all aspects of our lives, our work. So we're not going to focus on that one because if we do the other pieces of the pies, we're helping one another. So I'm going to let you all determine which teaming challenge we want to address first. So we're going to have you all put in chat if you want to do share common tasks and understand unique roles, understand team purpose, or value and respect one another, communicate openly and honestly. So go ahead and put in chat and I'll try to see if I can keep up. Understand team purpose, value and respect. That's funny. Some people are able to use the annotate, Jeannie. Lots of team purpose, team purpose. Oh, Jeannie, you guys, Jeannie's helping me. She's putting some of your votes in for me so I can see. Thanks, Jeannie. That helps. Share common tasks. Just keep dropping them in chat and we'll see if we can come up with our first one. Patty says Jeannie's sharing the love with all the hearts. All right, it looks like you guys have voted actually for all of them. Let's see if we can at least get to 2, but I am going to do the share common tasks and understand unique roles. That's where we're gonna start, and then we'll see. All right, so let's think about this one. Sharing common tasks and understanding the unique roles. So what I want you to chat before we dive in too deep, when a team member understands common tasks and understands each other's unique roles, again, what does that look like? An example, when team members are really willing and excited to share those common tasks and rely on the expertise of each other, it's pretty sweet. But a lot of times we see that that doesn't always work well. Sometimes team members feel like their unique roles are being diluted or dismissed. So let's go ahead and put in chat again, what does it look like when teams share common tasks and members understand unique roles? A Mark says it's a cohesive team. It gives the family clarity. Christine says you feel valued. Tasks are completed in a timely manner. Right. Thanks, Rachel. Patty says it just feels comfortable for all team members to share and collaborate. They're participating equally with sharing and learning, not overly deferring to one team member. Everyone has input. Lauren says flexibility of all members. Sandra says we all work in harmony to create a symphony. Share your comfort with the other equals member skill sets. Everyone works together. Yeah, again, this is one of those when you see it going well, it's so evident. But let's take a look at an example when it's not going so well. So I want to introduce you guys to Ruben. And I'm going to go ahead and read this in case people are not able to access the slides or the Zoom PowerPoint. Ruben is a speech language pathologist who recently joined your team right out of grad school. He's enthusiastic and eager to learn more about early intervention, but he seems to be struggling with the more cross-disciplinary approach of EI. He frequently talks about what he learned in school, which did seem to be a more discipline-specific focus, and that he feels like there's a conflict with his SLP code of ethics. He struggles with using a coaching approach because he does not believe most families have the skill set that he has, since he went to school to provide speech therapy and they did not. Raise your hand if you've ever had this situation on your team. Or again, you're welcome to type in chat. Lots of people are raising their hands. Yep. Yep, I see lots of you have had this example. So what I want you to think is how might you help Ruben, or because this is impacting your whole team, what suggestions do you have about sharing about EI's cross-disciplinary approach? Are there any good resources? Type those in chat. Kathy says, having taught in Part B for 25 years, it was a shift going to coaching, but it's not going to help them or the kids if we don't keep parents on board for the learning. Yes, and really tapping into the parents' expertise or helping teaching them. Beth says, put yourself in the parent's shoes. Charlene suggests pair with a mentor who is patient. Oh, and Charlene's giving a plug. Use resources from the VEIPD. Maybe some mentoring from other SLPs, Jennifer says. Mary Ellen says, I'd like to help him identify what conflicts he has and if they are valid and identify what he needs to learn. How can that happen? Melissa says, recommend conferences, classes he can attend to understand the approach. Lauren's resources, the teaming handbook, does a great job of talking about the primary provider model. So Lauren's is if you're not familiar with that, that's a Russian Sheldon book that she's recommending. We're going to try to gather some of your ideas too. Nanette says she came from the ID side of services and did this for a year. And the key to success is to be empathetic. Think outside of your own box. Michelle says maybe joint visits with other providers. Yeah, so you guys are thinking a lot about mentoring, connecting Ruben with other SLPs who kind of do understand that coaching approach. Lisa suggested the other Russian Sheldon book, assuming that parents know their child needs best. Kathy says Ruben needs to know he's not the expert of their child. Yvonne says role play. Joint visits is a great idea. Yeah, so we have to think, because sometimes this can put up barriers and people can easily get frustrated with someone like Ruben. But if we step back and think, how can we support him, which will support families, which in a larger scope is going to support the functioning of your entire team. Yeah, thank you guys for ideas and some great resources. We'll pull those together. Let's go back. Maybe. There we go. Let's go back. I'm going to ask you, or can you remember which was the second one? And we'll try to hit that one. Jeannie says, understand team purpose. Okay. Let's hit that one then, you guys. So let's think about understanding the team purpose. When I first started doing a lot of work on teaming and collaboration, I thought, doesn't everybody know their team purpose? And you can take for granted that people do know that, but the team purpose really does change for lots of different parts of early intervention. We have teaming for assessment for service planning. Sometimes we have teaming during IFSP implementation, supports and service delivery. Certainly you have teaming in transition. And then there are those bigger teaming kinds of things being part of being part of an agency or a larger organization, that your team has to be a part of bigger teams. So let's put in chat, when you think about a team that has a shared understanding of their purpose, what does that look like? Yeah, Yvonne says, remember, we probably all started out like Ruben. Yes. Michelle says, our purpose is to support the family, so all members need to be willing to help. Mm-hmm. What else does it look like when we have a shared understanding? Bailey says, the family feels empowered and supported. Beth says, it looks like a great IFSP. The team works together to support the family in the way they need support. Family is better served when there's collaboration and supported. Lauren says, I think when our team has a shared understanding, we're all open to feedback because we have a shared goal and purpose. Charlene, focused, family focused, respectful, knows the outcomes. When you have that shared team purpose, it builds trust for everybody on the team, Kim says. Helping families understand they are the experts where their child is concerned. Yvonne says the team process looks organized, respectful, and all have opportunities to participate. Yeah. Cheryl says it means everyone is responsible for all aspects of the program. Yeah, Cheryl, you're getting at that bigger thing. Not only our direct work with families and children, but data, outcomes. I know that when we have trained in our Kaleidoscope service coordination training, helping new service coordinators understand that compliance issues and things that are tracked through the Office of Special Education programs comes all the way down to each individual provider, how a whole system operates and that data that's collected and the outcomes. Sometimes we forget that it does trickle all the way down, and it matters what one person is doing. Sherry says, helps the family see that you're invested in them. Mm-hmm. Joe says, the team is all working together to help the family. Yeah, thank you guys. Thank you guys. What we're going to do is we're going to look at another case vignette. This one has a little bit of a different spin. So in this one, you're struggling with a team member or members who don't understand that purpose of the team. And this is an important agency-wide electronic health record implementation. So again, I'm going to read the vignette. Your agency is moving from paper to electronic health records. While this will be so helpful when fully in place, the process to get to that point requires a lot of attention to details, meetings to consider best processes, and etc. Shelby, one of your team members, has grumbled about this process from the beginning. She repeatedly says that she is too busy to attend so many meetings. She doesn't care about all the minutia, and to just tell her when the EHR system is in place and what she needs to do to get her work done. All right, guys, type in chat or raise your hand. Ever had a Shelby on your team? It's funny, I can watch as you guys are raising your hands and it's going higher and higher and higher. Yep. Dee said she currently has a Shelby on her team. Joe's lucky. She's not had a Shelby on her team. But lots of us have had. Actually, Dana and I were talking the other day. I remember being on this committee that I was voluntold that I had to be on. And whoops, you guys, I moved too fast. Hang on. I swear that we had to talk about, do we think the signature line should be in the lower right-hand corner or the lower left-hand corner? Do we think the line should be an inch long? I thought, I am doing this every week for 90 minutes and I don't care. But it was a requirement. And in the long run, it was important. So again, you guys have started chatting. It's probably easy to be really frustrated with the Shelbys of the world, but what strategies or suggestions? Mary Ellen says Shelby's relinquishing her role to help form the policy and most likely won't be happy with the end result because she hasn't had a voice. Kathy says, recognize that Shelby's busy and people need to be heard. That's all it takes. Give a word of affirmation. We value your impact. If that doesn't work, bring out the hammer. Lauren says, understanding the why behind each of the things that we can do to see the value in it. Dolores says, ask Shelby how we can help her since she's so busy. Yeah. Lauren also says, check in with Shelby about how she's doing outside of the office. Maybe Shelby's overwhelmed with different parts of life too, and it's kind of hitting in her response to this. Nanette says, we're right there right now. We're in this process. And we need to express what Shelby, that we all truly feel, what she's feeling as new things and changes are hard at times. Yeah, lots of people are talking about we don't walk in other people's shoes. We don't know what else she's dealing with. Rachel says we might help her to focus on each step of the whole process. Thinking about the whole can be overwhelming. Kim says, ask Shelby what experience she has had before that might be triggering this response. Maybe she had to be on that forums committee that I was on. Yvonne says, maybe we need to tap into specific strengths that she could contribute to a part of it. Lori says, find out about Shelby's preferred learning style. Provide information about the electronic health process in that style, maybe a short checklist or a short PowerPoint. So individualizing how she can stay informed and tapping into her strengths. Absolutely. Let me see if anybody else has any that I missed. Maria says, remind her how this will be beneficial for families. You know, one of the things that we always talk about is the idea of what's in it for me. What is going to help me to do my job better? What is it going to do to help families to be able to fully participate? Melissa says, ask Shelby how she might handle that process. Sandra says, how close is Shelby to retirement? Employee burnout is common with long-term employees. Maybe the staff could get together and have a motivational retreat. Yeah, I don't know how long Shelby has, but I certainly have had members of the team, more newbies and more experienced, that have had some of this. This is just too much for me to think about. So, all right, looks like you guys have some good ideas. Are there any other resources you guys think we should tap in to help Shelby? You guys named a lot of things about her, her adult learning, but if you have any resources or anything about understanding the team's mission, the team's purpose, go ahead and put that in chat. All right, let's see. It looks like we have time. Hang on just a second, you guys. Hang on, I'm having a little technical difficulty. Jeannie, can you help me to get to the one with the babies butting heads, please? Hang tight, guys. While Jeannie's helping me, I'll keep catching up. Ashley says our agency has different. Ashley, I don't know what EAP services means. I don't know that acronym, like counseling that she could tap into. So she's saying their agency has some agency services. Kathy suggests don't add to the negativity. Let's see. So Jeannie, we're trying to get to the one with the babies. Communicate openly and honestly, value and respect. Am I able to go to that one? Let's see. Jeannie, I'm going to try it. Nope.
Corey, yeah, just go ahead and click on those message bubbles at the bottom.
There we go. I got it. All right. Thanks, Jeannie. All right, let's think about this one. This was the last one on our list. And again, we combine two slices of the pie, communicate openly and honestly, and value and respect one another. So what I want you all to think about is, have you had a time, or when you've had a time, when it just appeared that members, for whatever reason, they don't get along, maybe they don't respect each other's opinion, there's just a feeling of a lack of respect? Type in chat. I'm seeing some people are saying yes, they're raising their hands. Thanks, Ivana. EAP stands for Employee Assistance Program. Yeah, lots of people are saying. Kathy says she's never had this problem. She lives in a musical. Kathy, I live in a Jimmy Buffett island, so we could be there together. Yeah, I think that this is not uncommon. You know, we've all had those people that have been a little bit more challenging for us. Their style is different, the way they communicate. So it's common. Joanne's lucky to say, happy she hasn't had this with her small team, but it's not uncommon. So let's take a look at another scenario. All right. Megan and Sydney are members of your early intervention team. Although they work at the same agency and they've been on the same assessment team for about a year, but there just seems to always be this constant tension surrounding them. It's like they're frequently trying to outdo each other. Their lack of respect and dislike for each other can be obvious to everyone, sometimes even family members. So we've already talked about, we know that this has happened, but what strategies would you offer for Megan and Sydney, and even more importantly, the whole team? Because this is one that can be really uncomfortable to be watching. Watching this happen. So type in chat again, what strategies would you offer for this whole team? Jennifer says she's waiting these strategies. All right, Lisa, you said team building activities. Give us some of your best team building. Beth says crickets. You guys, why is this so hard? Why don't we have strategies? Lori says observe a more cohesive team doing an assessment. Rachel says doing a personality trait quiz so each team member understands each other. I love that idea. Somebody said we could suggest a team intervention. Lauren says she's on this team and part of the challenge. Oh, you guys, now it's coming in. Hang on. Sorry, Lauren, I lost the moment. Hang on just a second. I'm going to get to it. Maybe. All right, Lauren, I'm going to come back. I'm going to find it. Somebody's recommending putting them on different teams. I would have a team meeting, have a pre-meeting with staff only to agree what will be said. So parents, so there's no argument. Yes, we definitely don't want arguments among staff in front of parents. Lots are talking about team meetings, some intervention, discuss strategies, recognize the elephant in the room, talk with the two to determine their awareness, discuss the issue, maybe privately, and then bring them together. Other team members can model speaking in a respectful way, have an honest discussion. Understanding why they're struggling to work together. Let's see if I've missed any others. I'm curious, as you guys are coming up with these ideas, who's going to call this intervention or this meeting? Remember, they're working as a team, not individuals. Put egos aside. Joanne says the local system manager or supervisor should pull this together, should probably be a supervisor. Lisa says establish team rules during work times. You don't have to be friends outside of work, but you do have to get along professionally. Yeah, Jennifer, it is not enjoyable. Yeah, I was the supervisor of a team that there were two providers who just did not see eye to eye. And it often dissolved with somebody storming out of a room, door slamming, tears, and having to pull that together and having a meeting amongst the three of us. That's hard stuff. Hard stuff. I'm sorry, I can't remember off the top of my head, but somebody suggested there are some really fun, short personality trait kind of quizzes, but they're pretty insightful. And sometimes when you recognize how people perceive things, their operating mode, how they respond, it does help you, especially if you're a supervisor, to figure out you might supervise people differently. For example, I worked on a team. I tend to be very methodical, very organized, like to see the end product. And I worked with a colleague who I adored, but her style was a lot less organized, didn't match mine very well. She frequently lost things, her papers were kind of all over. And instead of getting frustrated with her, I started to figure out what's the best way to work with her to match her style. So I changed my style to work with her. I also provided supports, like if I saw that she left her paper somewhere, and I talked to her about it. Is that something you want me to pick up and bring it to you? And that worked for her. She often couldn't find her papers. Christina says she's worked, unfortunately, in a situation for 27 years. Oh my goodness, it's still not resolved. Yes, it is very difficult when one team member feels they need to be the best. Let's see, team building activities and switching out teams so they're not consistently working together. Having both recognize different personality traits. Yes. So if you have the luxury of shaking up teams, that definitely is a possibility. If you're a smaller team, that can be pretty challenging. Lauren says on our team, it often results in other team members helping the two perspective take. Yeah, thinking about what does this look like from somebody else's perspective. Let's see. people are talking about a local system manager would be a good one to initiate with great team building ideas. Again, if you guys have any team building resources that we can share with you all when we compile them after today's talks on Tuesday, we would love for you to keep putting in chat. Sarah says the supervisor should observe the team over time and help them to overcome. Another thing that I would throw out is videoing a team or a meeting and then debriefing together, either the supervisor and Megan and Sydney or as a whole team. One of the things I always recommend when you're watching a video and it puts a more even keel is thinking about two things you would commend yourself. What two things went well in that video I just watched? And the way that I reframe what didn't go so well is I always reframe it with, if you could have a redo on two things, what would it be? It's easier to hear that than, this went really badly. So if you could have a redo, what would you like to do differently? And sometimes people seeing themselves like, I don't know, which one is Megan? We're going to pretend Megan is in the gray sweater and Sydney is over here on the right. Sydney might not have any idea that that's what her face looks like. And catching that on a video, like, oh my goodness, I really need to think about how my face is expressing, because her whole face is saying, I don't agree with you. I don't respect what you're saying. So that's another idea. Glad you like that idea, Christina. All right. Feel free to keep typing in chat if you see anything else. Let's go ahead and kind of think about some of the resources that we came up. You guys, I can't tell you how hard this is to get my slides to advance today. There we go. So we've thought about some kind of common teaming challenges. We know that this is a thing for a team to grow and kind of gel is going to be a team process. We wanted to highlight a couple resources if you are not familiar with. So the Learn and Grow checklist is the one that we've been dropping in chat and you've been using throughout this webinar, something that you could definitely use as a tool. And then right below that one, there is, through the Early Childhood Technical Assistance Center, there's a checklist that goes with that. I mean, a vignette that goes with that. That is another teaming tool you guys could use in practice. So kind of like what I built today, some vignettes, and then you can practice and work and talk through with your team. You certainly can use any of the vignettes that I came up with too, but this is one from ECTA that is really easy to pull. We also, and I think, let's see, I think somebody, Jeannie's dropping all of these in chat for you. We'll be sending them to you too. There is a new universal EI curriculum, which is a national work group that develops Part C early intervention curricula. And we just finished one called Teaming Tidbits. Some of the stuff I pulled today is from that, but there are always examples of two times that things don't go so well in a teaming situation too. And those tidbits, there are, it's a total of 6 when there's an introduction and a wrap up, but they all take between 9 and 12 minutes. They're really, really short nuggets of resources and tidbits that you can use. So definitely something you could use as an individual, you could use as a training tool for staff. So we've dropped that in chat. Those just went live last week. So check those out. We will actually be doing an announcement that people can access those too. And then in collaboration with the teaming tidbits, Dana Childress from our team and a colleague are doing EI on the Fly podcasts. And they have done podcasts that go along with the topic of the teaming tidbits. And those are coming out once a month. Dana, if you're able, I can't remember, it seems like maybe 4 are live. I don't know if you can either type a chat or you can unmute and tell me where we are with those. Yeah, Dana says 4 of the 5 episodes are available. Nanette, I see, yes, we are going to be sending all of these resources. And I love that you have a resource folder. So again, if you have the EI on the Fly, if you are not familiar with those podcasts, this is actually the second installment of topics, and definitely put a plug in to check those out. All right. So if you are new to our Talks on Tuesday, I just wanted to be sure you knew that a survey link will be emailed to you right after the Talks on Tuesday webinar. And when you complete the survey, you get your certificate of participation for today. Reminder to make sure you download and save that certificate onto your desktop. And when you download and save, the timestamp will automatically update. So if anybody has any questions or needs help with that, feel free to let me know. Jenny Lee says the resources will be sent. Yes, Jenny, Jenny Lee, we will be sending these resources too. Yes. All right. So as we wrap up for today, a reminder that this is a 2-part series. When we meet again in March, Lisa from the professional development team is going to be talking about collaboration with parents. And actually, I see that this is my fault. I put the wrong slide there. But Lisa's focus is going to be on helping parents to be fully involved in the process as an equal team member. So that's what we're going to be talking about in March. So I hope you'll plan to join us. A reminder that if you registered for today's, you are automatically registered for the March 2nd one. Mary Ann says, oh, March 2nd is your birthday. Happy birthday, Mary Ann, if I don't remember. Yeah, Kim, so definitely join us. Kim says, including parents in the teaming process. Yes. Jeannie's reminding everybody you're automatically registered. Let's see if I see anything else. All right, so I think that takes us to the end. Feel free, I will leave the link open for a few more minutes. If you have any more questions, don't forget to complete the survey to get your certificate, and we hope to see you on March 2nd. Thanks, everybody. Have a great day.